Welcome back. Let's talk to Henry.
Henry Division.
Hmm.
Who the fuck are you?
Henry Division.
The prime suspect. I'm going to go a little bit fast here because it doesn't really matter. We know who his Henry is. We know who his father is. We already figured out that he was Ai's Kiwami's son.
Who the fuck are you?
The investigator.
Wanna have a...
Sure. What the hell?
Are you fucking kidding me?
The Syndicate fucks control this whole island, but you don't know who fucked my mom? No DNA check? No nothing?
I don't like this. The facts and the truth. Paradise feels wrong.
I grew up without a dad on a synthetic island in a different reality, forced to worship gods that want to rule the world. I needed something to do. And somebody started giving me books on demonology. Said I was a gifted astral communicator or some shit. Which is technically true. He is very gifted. Unfortunately, he's gifted in bringing demons. Golly, I wonder who that was.
Fucking ever.
I have a bad feeling about this. When? Sure.
Whatever you fucking say. Whatever.
Don't test me.
So, now he knows that we did the same thing he did.
Ooh,
What fucking ever.
So now he's going to describe the demon inside of him, which has only a very, very minor role to play in this game, so it's not really something we're going to cover. But it will tell us a lot about how the game is supposed to feel. It is something where if you're playing the game, you'll read up on it and it'll give you a feel for how the game's reality works, how it feels to be on the island or possessed by a demon.
Whatever you fucking say.
And he's also here to serve as as an explainer, a window character that tells us how screwed up our whole setup is. So we're here, pretending to be normal people, but in reality we are pretty bad folks, and he's here to remind us of that. So we've got a lot of stuff here, but 99% of this stuff is
Fucking thing.
because he's been in the cage for 10 years. Can you remember anything? Agitation, screams inside me. They woke me up for the first time in years. Now, we already know that death screams can be heard by demons, so when he's talking about screams inside of him, he's talking about the death screams, which means that when he woke up, he was hearing people die.
that's weird. Got it.
I'm shocked.
The only question is, when did he hear these death screams? Did he hear them before he escaped? Or, yeah, see, can you remember anything from before you escaped? So, before he escaped, there were a lot of death screams. That's interesting. So that means that either the council was killed before he escaped, or he heard some other kinds of death screams.
Whatever you fucking say. My mind is like a desert covered in fire. The demon wants to see this island.
So we're just burning through all of these negatives here.
Got it.
Did you go on a plateau and barely known planet in space to get to the council?
I'm shocked.
Can you even hear yourself? What the fuck does that even mean? So Yuri Knight is actually the person who gave him the demonic books 10 years ago,
I'm shocked.
which we found out quite a while ago, before we even met Yuri Knight.
Whatever you fucking say.
Oh,
Are you fucking kidding me?
The calling being illegally communicating with gods and causing a demonic invasion. We all need a hobby, and now I'm here. You've got a locked safe in the apartment. Can I get into it?
What a fucking
Get
surprise.
fucked. So, the only way to get him to give us the safe number is to hang out with him several times. And unfortunately, that requires us to leave the island and then return to the island, which is why I unlocked the quick travel point, because I don't want to walk back here every time. So he remembers seeing New Night, and this is the one thing that will really matter. It turns out that there's only one New Night statue on the island, and it's nowhere near the council chambers.
the investigator is here.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I need to find the statue of New Night. She's the goddess of warriors. The barracks may be a good place to start. And in fact, that is exactly true. New Night is in the barracks. And so the only way that he could have seen her is if he was in the barracks.
I'm shocked, stunned.
The facts and the truth.
I must be the bad guy, right?
Well, it's clear that Henry's not a good guy, but there's a difference between being possessed by a demon and being the bad guy.
What a fucking surprise. Whatever you fucking
Alright, well, you managed to burn through Henry in 6 minutes by basically just ignoring everything he had to say. If you're getting to Henry pretty early on, then it makes a lot of sense that this stuff would work really well. But I think that this whole island was a mistake, because it's very hard to find, and it's not something you're naturally going to stumble across. I honestly think that it would have been a lot better for the sake of onboarding the player to the investigation if Henry and Akiko here were in the judge's chamber, just locked right behind the judge. That way you could start right there if you wanted to. Maybe not directly in the judge's chamber. Maybe like the judge is like, oh, well, we've locked them, over in that giant pink building, so that you do get a little bit of free world exploration in. But the point here is that if you come to these two characters late in the investigation, they don't really have anything to add. They're both obviously setting up red herrings, and they're not terribly interesting if you've already blown through the red herring portion of our exploration. Let's talk to Akiko for 20 minutes.
Akiko 14.
Got a minute, Akiko? You're going to die. Humor me. Having fun playing detective?
Don't test me.
It doesn't actually matter what you say, everything unfolds the same way. Labagio in the cage needs a bullet between the eyes. That hasn't been proven. An investigator needs to soak in the facts, breathe in the evidence, savor the I don't care. Thanks, Akiko. This has been delightful. One of the favorite things about this game is when you and the person that you're talking to get along really terribly, and then there's this, at the end, there's this, ding, your relationship is increased. I think that's really great. That kind of thing just really tickles me. So here we've got a ton of questions to ask her, and we have a lot of knowledge that we can start to contradict her with. What do you know about the second Holy Seal? I know that the bug you in the cell got through it and killed the council. I also know that you're wasting my time. So if you meet her early on, she basically just says that over and over and over, just like Henry. She doesn't have a whole lot to say until you start to gather information on her. But the problem is that once you've gathered information on her, you can't really spring it on her in a way that short circuits this procedure of going through all of her grumpiness.
I'll put your head on a spike.
Got it.
So he was imprisoned because he had a demon in him, and they wanted to keep the demon in him. She says she had her hands full last night, which is definitely true. So here we're getting into something where she does have some stuff to talk about.
Do you want to die?
Ooh, I don't like this.
So Akiko seems to make a lot of mistakes, or at least mistakes on critical moments. Heat on the street is that you're trying to expand the responsibility of the marshals. You want to have the marshals do exorcism. I should kill you for that accusation. It's not even an accusation, though. We actually have evidence, but we can't be like, hey, look, here's the evidence. So this is a big one. Let's talk about Henry's stuff here. How did Henry escape? I must have been dreaming or hallucinating. Henry broke through them. What if he didn't?
Sure.
Starlight's analysis of the residue on the bars says that it was explosives. Starlight is wrong. Your little machine is trying to analyze something demonic and doing the best it can. How did Henry escape if he was sedated? He played us. The inhibitors needed to be stronger. The report says they were correct.
Pull up.
What if the demon tricked us, though? If the demon could slow Henry's bodies down, the dosage of inhibitors needed would be lower. Why were you on your own? I was just one pull-up prisoner that was supposed to be sedated. Sounds like arrogance. You sound like you have a death wish.
Love dies.
You broke procedure.
Pull up.
I'll admit hubris. My marshals do not come to the next island with us. They are engaged in their final prayers. I wanted them to have one last moment of happiness before being wiped out. So Grand Marshal Akiko is one of the less evil people on the island, in that she acknowledges that her people are human and she likes them, but she is still very guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. What can you tell me about the guards at the First Holy Seal? Soldiers of honor, my two most trusted soldiers.
Ow.
How did Henry get the jump on them? It's easy to judge and mock when you haven't lived through hell. A demon is a vile foe. My marshals will have fought valiantly, but, whatever. It's impossible to be able to tell how a demon works, so, blah, 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 blah. So her goal here, and this is, I keep shouting in the mic, sorry. Her goal here, and this is not terribly important, but it is showing a crack in her scheme. She never intended to leave the bodies for us to find. She intended to clean them up. And the reason she didn't want to leave the bodies for us to find is because they're not the right bodies. So obviously, if she wanted to do this on the down low, she needs to clean the bodies up before we get here, but then she's not allowed to, and she's a little bit nervous about it.
They're hot.
There had better be a stunning reason why you're asking it.
Do you want to die?
I have.
Touch. Dracului din gură.
This sword has seen some use. The blade is nicked. We know that the two people at the First Holy Seal were killed by a nicked blade.
Thank you.
We know that the combat knife is not nicked. It is just very, very obvious that this is a red herring.
Târfă.
Don't you dare speak about my marshals.
Crime can.
Ce dracu?
Relationships between myself and the marshals is expressly forbidden.
Ești pe bune?
So we know that she had a thing going on with one of the people that was supposed to be at the first gate, but we know that he wasn't there. Blah, 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 blah.
You need to back.
I don't like.
I'll kill you.
So her only defense against all of our various accusations is that our computer is shitty. So she says that she didn't know anything about the breach, and that might be true, might not be true. We'll find out, I suppose.
Ești prost.
There's nothing in your report about Henry seeing New Night.
Nenorocito, you're out of
There's
your
only
mind.
one statue of New Night on the island.
Crime cannot.
Where is it?
I don't like this.
The statue is in the barracks. The goddess only gives her love to only gives her attention to soldiers. Where did I hear love?
The investigator is here.
So how could Henry have seen it last night? He couldn't have.
Crime.
I'm just going to
cannot
ask Akiko,
hide.
did you take him through the barracks last night? So even if we try and face her down with facts, she just shuts them down by saying that we're wrong. This is one of the flaws of this kind of game design. There's no branching available. And that means that if you confront people with evidence, they either have to shut you down or just give you more evidence and pretend that nothing went wrong. So that means that if the evidence matters, they'll shut you down. And if it's a lead you're following up on, they'll give you better evidence, but then when you follow up on that evidence, whoever that was, will shut you down. It's not necessarily a terrible idea, but it is...
Is this a fact?
It is a limitation that makes it so that talking to these people can be very repetitive if you've got a whole slew of facts and they're just going to sit there and say that they don't care.
Got it.
That's a lie.
It would be very nice for me and my delusions of being an investigator if the people broke down at times before the final the final procedures, the final court case, just because it would make for, you know, an unraveling of the. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the words here. I want to unravel it in real time. I want to unravel it as the game goes on. I don't want to just pick up a whole bunch of facts and then spill them at the end. Although I do want to do that in terms of revealing it. Here she's talking about Doom Jazz's stupid rear door, which only matters a little bit. And but the structure of the game is basically such that at the end of the game you reveal everything, which is fine because that's how these sorts of investigations are supposed to go. But when you are the investigator, you need to reveal these things to yourself earlier than that, because otherwise you are just as confused as everybody else. I love the feeling of putting together I love the feeling of putting together a case. I love the feel of assembling the pieces that I need to assemble. And that can be supported with in-game mechanics. In this case, it's not, but that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It's just a limitation that we have to accept. Anyway, we found out about the island, about K-Hex's necklace. I'm spitting out random words now because I've been talking for too long.
Che?
I need to.
Nenorocito.
Why?
Soldiers of honor. Do you want to die?
Sure.
That labajiu.
What time?
Ooh. Nenorocito.
The truth remains. Thank you. Crime.
Classic.
Got it.
So, unlike Yuri Knight, she refused to give her phone records.
Paradise Field.
That labajiu.
What the hell?
Nenorocito.
Sure. I have a bad.
Goodbye, Nenorocito.
Oh gosh.
Turfa. That's a.
The investigator.
Turfa.
I have a bad feeling.
So basically, we're facing her with all the facts we picked up about her before we even met her, and she is just shutting us down. She's like, "I don't care. Shut up. Go away. Who cares?"
Sure. Crime is Don't test me.
Do you want to die?
There we are, finally. Whew. Wow. Okay. So that was 20 minutes of talking, and I sped through it. This is, in my opinion, this island is the worst part of the game, just because there's stuff hidden over here that you should find really early, but you don't. And then you spend the next 20 minutes catching up on these people, and all they can say is, I don't know, or I don't remember.
That's strange.
And the worst part is that all of it just leads to the red herring. It's patently obvious that this red herring is a red herring, and I would really rather prefer it if the red herring parts were resolved earlier rather than later. But this is an open world situation, and the problem is that the open world can be approached in any way you want. So you have to be careful about how you put your stuff into the open world, and I honestly think that having this island was a mistake. It's like a mid-late game thing, and unless you are actively trying to hunt down the various characters using the overlay, you're not going to... Which overlay? This overlay. You're not even going to know they're here. Oh, there's something more with Henry. Alright, Henry. Oh yeah, we have to tell him that he couldn't have run that fast. Oh, we can hang out again. It's been so long that we can hang out with Henry again. Let's talk. What is it like living like a citizen?
Shocked. Stunned. Are you whatever you fucking say?
I think we need one more hangout with him before we can get his... Oh gosh, look at how long this was.
Hot. I'll put
Sure.
Chedra.
I'm glad to be back.
Nenora soldiers of honor.
Yeah, so here she reveals that she hates us because we fell to damned Harmony, who is a god that she's been fighting for 1,000 years or more.
Freak. Ich prost.
I'm glad to be back.
Alright, so that conversation went on for so long that we got to hang out with him twice. That's how long that conversation went on. Oh, So what we're going to do in the next episode is we are going to go and investigate the starting island again. Haha! That one won't feature any real talking to people.